So the first thing we're going to get you to do is some math. Excellent. I know, I always hated this part. But actually, I don't really need full answers. I'm not taking it in. I'm not marking it or anything like that. But I want you to just, there's some blank paper if you don't have something to write on, or you can use your whiteboards because I think you don't really sit and save trees. I want you to just take a look at this question, and you may recognize it from the tips binder. I find that binder is really daunting, actually. But a typical 9 applied question. And while you work through it, just think about what kind of questions your 9 applied kids would ask. Or, you know, a lot of them might not ask a question. They might just put their head down and go, no, I'm not doing it. But see what strategies they need or could use. What kind of skills are they coming in from grade 8 that they'll already know, or what are we going to have to teach them for this? And then, you know, maybe what are we going to have to deal with by giving this question to them. So I'm just going to give you a few minutes to just try it out, just so that you can kind of work through it and go, hey, oh, I don't know about this question. Okay? Hand it in, I'm going to mark it. Okay, so let's talk first. What kind of skills do they need to know before they even tackle this question? Yeah?
They have to recognize it's a composite shape.
Perfect, yeah. There's no one formula for that. Oh, sorry.
What different shapes are in that? So identifying the different shapes.
Right. So we're actually like kind of deconstructing that shape and saying, okay, what other shapes are in there? What were you going to say?
I'm going to say recognizing the difference between perimeter and area.
Good point. Because if we're talking about going around the outside of the track, it's perimeter. And one thing I get once in a while is the formula for a circle, though, has a C, yes? And I'm like, yes, it does. Right? And so knowing circumference is really just the same as perimeter was something we had to kind of go, oh, wait a minute, yeah, we got some language barriers here, because they might not have heard that, or it's weird. Yeah?
They're going to have to know how to change 1 kilometer at 1,000 meters to what 4 kilometers is.
Right, and I find on EQAO they love to put those little hint boxes on there, and the kids are like, what's that for? I'm like, well, that's a hint. It may not be a good one, but let's talk about what we can use that for. Why did they give that to us, right? And so that really helps to connect this to EQAO and bring that compound into it. Our school actually puts EQAO questions on every test to prep them that way, just those sample ones you get off the internet, right? Any other skills they might need?
Well,
Yeah.
If we're dealing with English language learners, what does it mean to run track?
Yes. That's true. Do we even...
Sports. We make a lot of sports analogies, but not necessarily everybody's played that sport. All right?
Yeah, such a good point. All right. So what sort of problems do you think your kids are going to encounter?
Automatically over half, and we're going to do 100 plus 60 plus 100 plus 60 to get a lap of the track.
Yes. And so that is something actually that we need to talk about too, is when we're doing perimeter around the outside of the lap, we're not cutting across, right? If you saw that runner running across the track like that, I think somebody would get upset. I got found a shortcut. You know, so we want to make sure that they're all going around the track and talking about the perimeter or something. Yeah.
I screwed up and thought 2 pi d instead of 2 pi r. Like I wrote down 2 pi r, but then I put in 60 instead of 30.
Yeah, oh for sure. And knowing that 60 kilometers, of course, that's a really big track. That 60 meters is the diameter, and what does that mean according to the formula they have? If they have the formula sheet, like, do we have to give them the formula sheet? Right? We tend to use the EQAO formula sheet, not that we like it, but because that's what they get later, so you might as well get them used to it. Yeah.
Also, right below it talks about how each lane is 1 meter, I think, wide. So they'd have to go, where would they use that, or is that something that they're just going to throw out?
Yeah.
You know, so it can be done when we get to the extension, but you know, you would assume everybody's just going to do the shortest path without them even knowing it. They're going to do the shortest path because they're going to use the numbers that are given. But
yeah. And that is a great extension, is to include that 1 meter in there and to talk about what lane are they in, because that's going to have a bearing on their answer, right? Yeah.
And do they run in the middle of the lane?
Yes, or are they weaving? That's how it or did they change lanes, right? Those, I mean, I did watch a little bit of the Olympics on the TV because it was in a restaurant. But they start off in one position right? And they have like a staggered start, so they're starting like this, but then they all end up in the inside lane because that is the shortest lane. Like, oh no, I'm going to ride the high line. Right, so how does that change your question? So we can extend this problem and say, okay, if we did this. Now that's not a 10 applied question, maybe, but that's the nice thing about this continuum of learning. We could take this 9 applied question and push it into all other grades, right? And just keep referring back to it and say, okay, you know this question? Now that we're in 10 applied, let's try to make it a little bit different. What other kind of extensions might you see?
You have to resurface it, so figure out the area and track.
Yeah, and one of our colleagues who's here, who is a track coach, she's always talking about the rubberized tracks. And I'm like, whatever. But you know how wonderful it would be to have a rubberized track at our school, or at least in our board, because she runs track. So how much would it cost to put that in at the new school? And if you didn't, what is the comparison between that and this standard gravel?
You bring speed into it?
For sure.
How fast is she going, or if she runs this fast, how long will it take her?
Yeah, and who's going to win at that pace or something, if somebody nudges somebody. And did you have?
Oh, just determining where each runner starts so that they run the same distance. You have to calculate almost each lane and break that meter width up to however many runners first.
Right, because then that comes into that discussion of that why is there a staggered start and do they all finish at the same line? Right? And the wonderful thing about this question is we can Dan Meyer this thing up, right? We could have video of the Olympics. And I'm sure Dan Meyer would put on his shorty shorts and start running around the track himself and go, look at me, I'm running a race. And then, you know, really slowly, because you have to do it slowly to make it painful. But we could bring this question alive and then say, okay, well, how long did it take you? And so we had a conversation about which teacher would make wear biker shorts around the track at school. But you could really bring a lot of stuff into that and say, well, how long, who's going to win, what's going to happen, and make it more realistic for them instead of just a picture on a piece of paper.